Hi and welcome to War HQ. My name is Lucious. Today I'm joined by Kysol from War HQ. And what we're just going to do today is we're currently holding a tournament and it's called Incursion Kill Team, Spring 2020. And what we are doing is we're just going to go over the tournament pack that we've created together and just give you our thoughts, just in case you've read through and you're not quite sure. Maybe this is your first tournament you've played and you're not 100% sure of where to start. Then we're going to just go through the tournament pack and the individual missions that we've selected and just explain it to you guys so it's heaps easier. And then if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and we'll endeavor to get back to you on those as well. So how are you going, Kysel? All right?
Yeah, good.
Cool, man. So at the moment, we've got Spring 2020, and that's for a reason. So we do have a set date at the moment that the tournament is on, and that's September the 12th at Irresistible Force Gaming in Tenamera in Queensland. So, but it's not set in stone because for those of you from Australia who would be interested in this tournament, um, what's happened is the Queensland border keeps opening and closing and all this sort of stuff. So it is creating a few problems with players that want to come and myself as an organizer as well. So we're hoping that all this kind of border lunacy can, by the time spring is 3 months, right? So we're giving ourselves a little bit of a leeway. So it will either be on this date of the September the 12th, or we will try and endeavour to have it done within spring. So please bear with us, and we're sorry about that. It's a little bit of out of our hands. But just to start with, so the event information you'll see up on the screen at the moment is basically all the details of what you need to know: where the shop is, how to contact the shop. They are selling tickets for it at the moment. So the tickets are $15 each, which is pretty reasonable, I think. And really, that's just covering the prizes. So talking with the store, what we're going to be doing is using any money from the ticketing to go into prizes. We're not trying to make money or anything from this. Obviously, we just basically want to give it back to any players that want to come along and compete. So the prizes will be pretty cool. Anyone who's been to Irresistible Force, Scott and I frequent it pretty regularly. It's one of our favourite shops. So they've got a fantastic paint section. Like they've got just about every brand of paint you can think of, and some good GW stuff as well, and indie games as well. So yeah, check them out if you haven't been there before. And one good thing about them is they have a good place to play games as well. So that's a bonus. Because of the virus stuff, I should say that we are limited ourselves to 20 players and two tournament organisers. So that's us, the tournament organisers, and we can have 20 players. I think it's over 2 rooms or something they've got there. So with the correct, spacing and all that stuff, I won't go into all that sort of thing. It's annoying. So, but we are following all the current rules of the Queensland government and just putting that out there. So if you are thinking about coming to this tournament and say you're interstate or you're not sure, please check the Queensland government border laws and rules before you buy any tickets or anything like, just to make sure that you are able to get there. We've been wanting to do a 125 point tournament, open tournament for a while now. I think you're on the same page, aren't you, Kysel? We've been
Yeah,
wanting to do that for a while and been playing.
yeah, and I experimented recently with it, and it does open it up for a lot more flexibility and fun.
Yeah, I think as a lot of other content creators overseas have said, you know, the 100 point sort of system was designed for Kill Team Arena. I'm sure you've heard a few people say that in the past. Um, but it does work really well. And here in Australia, we've been using 100 point system for a while now, and I think it is quite competitive. 125 though just gives you that little bit of leeway to be able to take those extra units, or to take that bigger thing like the Terminator or something you wanted to bring, which in a 100 point list might be a little bit restrictive, where you wouldn't so much take something that's a bit more expensive. So yeah, we wanted to just give that a bit of a try, I guess. Um, so what we're actually using in this tournament um, is all the rules from the Kill Team core rules, obviously, the Kill Team elites, so but minus any commander elements, and plus any updates in points and rules from the Kill Team annual 2019. So that's the most current, um, I suppose, work on Kill Team at the moment is still the annual. So like all the points and everything have to come from that,
Yep.
which is pretty important. And any official FAQs and erratas that have come out since that time, it's probably a good way to say it as well. And we do also have a little one in there, a caveat in there, is that's at White Dwarf Magazine's up into July 2020 for factions. So July 2020 saw the introductions of the Sisters of Silence. So we're just going to cut it there. I don't believe there wasn't any Kill Team content in the last White Dwarf. I don't believe.
No,
Or was that, no, was that Sisters of Silence? I can't even remember.
I think that
But
was
anyway,
it. And then there's
yeah,
just the Zench
that was
stuff coming up next.
yeah, and I don't think that it has any
No,
implications for Kill Team. So I don't think by the time this thing, the tournament rolls out, that we're actually going to have any other factions. I don't think. But if there is, we can just contact us about it, or ask a question. If anything does come up, like Noise Marines or something, I'll enter the competition if that happens. Um, what are you looking forward to? Anything? What would you like to see, Kysol?
there's only one thing that I really want to see, but it's not going to happen, and that's just Skaven.
This is Skaven.
I just
Skate
want,
what? 40k Skaven.
yeah, yeah. I just want space pirate rats. That's all I want.
Well, why don't you just get your convert your cultists and Chaos Marines with Skaven heads? I've seen that done before.
I can do
That'd be
that.
pretty cool.
Don't
Yeah,
don't tell
well,
me that.
yeah, do it. I've seen it on the thing. Because well, technically, right, in Age of Sigmar, Skaven are chaos, and they
Hmm.
work with chaos. So, fast forward that a few thousand millennium, I'm sure we can wing some Skaven Chaos Marines, or at least cultists. You could do some really cool clan pestilence cultists or something. That'd be all right.
Yeah, yeah,
And just keep in mind too, we don't really mind those things in this tournament because it's not run by Warhammer. It's independent by us, obviously. As long as your proxy is, WYSIWYG, we don't really mind. So if you do have Chaos Marines with Skaven heads, it's going to be totally legit. As long as people know what they are, and you're not making up your own stats. Obviously, they're going to be what a Chaos Marine is, or a cultist. They're going to be exactly the same. So um, as long as the lists are like the rules using what is available in the Kill Team manual, like for that
yeah,
faction, we don't really care. As well as proxy models as well, as long as they look like what you're representing and they have WYSIWYG, obviously. Yeah. Anything else on rules on that one, Kysel? I think that's sort of
no,
covers
that
it with that.
that's pretty much covers it. So yeah, the
Yeah.
the whole the whole reason for the cutoff at Sisters of Silence at the moment was just to give people a nice window so that something doesn't just drop 2 days before the tournament and someone's able to actually field that. No one has any experience with them or knowledge. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's all that rule was.
And look, I doubt anyone's going to be taking a Sisters of Silence team anyway. Good luck. I mean, I did a video on it. You know, I don't think it's the team that people wanted really, but it's okay. It's all good. Better than nothing, I guess, but still not the best option. But
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. We don't write the game. So let's have a look at list building then. Uh, Remember with this one, so this is just standard. Hey, like we're going off the core rulebook really with this. So you have your 20 man roster, 20 model roster. Now you can have whatever you want in that. Okay. And before each of the battles, you're able to then build your own battle hardened kill team or battle forged kill team or whatever. So what that means is basically you've just got a 125 point limit per mission that you play at the tournament, and you can pick anything within your command roster as long as it fits the normal rules of the core rulebook for doing that. And that is, it must contain 1 leader, and you can have up to 3 specialists. So what this means is you can get very creative with your roster builds. So if you're a little bit lost on how to go with rosters, maybe have a look at some of my previous videos on actual roster builds that I've done from some tournament ones and stuff, and you'll see that you can have doubles of certain things. Like your say, like you're taking Heretic Astartes or something, and you can only have 2 gunners, 2 Chaos Marine gunners. You might want to take 2 variants of each of the 2 options that you can have, and obviously not going to use all 4 of those in the actual list, but you have them on your roster. So you could take a flamer, or you could take something else, or you could take a heavy bolter, or you could take an autocannon, and you just choose the particular one you want for that list at that time. So this is what makes Kill Team a bit more competitive than 40k with this instance, is because you don't have a one list takes all. And it's important to mention this because a lot of people coming from 40k want to try out Kill Team, and I know quite a few of you guys have really struggled with this concept a little bit, and I have talked to a few people through it. So just remember, this is all found in the core rulebook, and I think it's page 62, if I believe offhand. So just check that out. Um, and just see how you go. If you do need any help with roster builds, please let me know. You can contact me at Lucious at warhq.com, and I'll endeavour to get back to you. But do remember too that when your roster is complete, we are looking for you to submit that to that email address as well, just so we can go through it and make sure the points are okay. Check it against the annual and stuff like that. And yeah, just make sure it's okay, because everyone that plays GW products knows their rules writing and just the PhD that you need to be able to dissect things and see what it actually means, a rule, is quite difficult. So we just take that out of the equation for you. So that's all I got to really say on list building. As I said, the command roster is really the big important thing there. So just get creative with your builds and try and think of different situations that you might come across. So you might, like, I know a player and sometimes I do this too, has a list option from their roster for every faction that they might come across. So, like, if I'm playing like Death Guard or something, I might have something which might work against Tau. I don't know what works against Tau, but yeah, and then some other things as well. And then I might go, oh well, here's my elite killer list, here's my horde killer list, and if you have it pre-planned before you get there, what you're going to find is you'll just, yeah, it'll be easy for you. Then you can just go, here's my list for a horde list. So I'll just pull that one out, and then I don't have to spend 20 minutes trying to organize it on the day as well. Just have a few things about these kind of things, and you won't have any issues at all. So let's have a look at gameplay. Did you want to go over some of these, Kysol? We'll go the scouting phase. Will not be used in the tournament. Um, Remember to supply your own game tokens, objective markers, rulers. We do ask you if you've got ID rings or ID markers for your specialists. That's always a nice thing to do. It's not compulsory,
Mm.
but I do suggest them because it just takes a lot of the guesswork out of for your opponent as well. Like if they know that that's your demolition specialist marine or something, and you've got like 6 marines on the field, it just makes it easier to go, okay, that's the one, that's the specialist. And you'll find with the missions that we've got, there are a few that center around specialists. So it's going to be important that people know whose specialists are what. That one's pretty straightforward. You don't have to worry about terrain in this thing. Everything's going to be preset for you. So all you need to do is go to the certain table that you have. The terrain will be preset, but we will be switching the missions. So you will need to have your own objective markers. Will be handy. So if you have your own objective markers, then that'll make it a little bit easier. When you get there, you can just put them in the appropriate places. We've got all the measurements on our on the missions themselves when you get the pack. So should make it pretty easy for you. So just whack the objective markers on there, and you're good to go. Look, it goes without saying, this next one is just conduct yourself in a respectful manner. Like, be respectful towards opponents. Just as you'd expect them to be respectful to you, and to shop staff and the tournament organisers, obviously. Goes without saying. Games are going to last like I think it's 1.5 hours each. There's a 15-minute exchange time between that. That gives you enough time to like take your models, take them to the next table that you get assigned, get ready for the next battle. If you're ahead of time, you can even exchange rosters with the opponent of the next game and get ready ahead of time, so you've got more time to play. But in experience, an hour and a half is generally plenty of time to be able to do these things. We are going to impose a rule, though, that we will give time warnings through the tournament, and once the time is up, you pretty much have to end on that turn that you're on. So if you can, and you've got that 15-minute leeway there to do it, so you might want to just go through. But by the time you're on to turn 4, like if that's about where you are, if you haven't quite finished, then you're going to find that time to do turn 4 is going to be fairly little, because you're not going to have much left on the board probably. So you're only going to have like a handful of models to move each, and it's usually when everything's winding down anyway, turn 4. So sure, that will work. So time can't be made back up. As soon as the last issue warning is given, so like for the last 5 minutes or something, that's it. That's the turn. So it ends on that turn. You can't sort of slip in a turn within 1 minute left or something. It's best just to end it, and we'll just end it there. Yeah. So remember, with rulings that we've got a few rules with this one. Like, we want to make it like, no one's insulting anyone's intelligence who goes there or anything. So we're assuming that players have a basic understanding of the game. Tournament organisers, Kysol and myself, will be there. hopefully. And really, any rulings that you guys can't sort out between yourselves, it's best. There's two approaches to this. You can either come and ask a TO for clarification on this, and their ruling will be final, I guess. Or you find the rules reference and show it to your player within the specified parameters of the rule books that we're using and the FAQs. And if that can't be resolved through there, then neither of you can resolve that through that. Then what we generally like to do is just if both players agree to it, then just dice off for it. One dice, bang, whoever wins that wins the argument, and with no salt, right? So if you submit yourself to a dice roll, then that's how it is. Okay. Otherwise, come find a TO and we'll sort it out. It shouldn't be a problem. I'm sure. I think out of all the tournaments I've been to, there's been maybe once that's someone's consulted a TO or something that I know of. But it's all good. It was a newer player anyway. So with victory points within this game, within these games that you play, just remember that person with the highest victory points in the match will win the game. So there's a maximum of 24 victory points that can be achieved, and these are through three different mediums. So you've got primary objectives, which we'll go through in a sec. We've got secondary objectives, which we'll also go through, and we've got the mission-specific objectives as well. So between those, you've got a maximum of 24 points, and each one of those individual objectives can only have a maximum of 3 assigned to it. So, just keep that in mind as well. So if you hold, say, a primary objective for 4 turns, you're only going to score it for 3. That's how it works. So just keep that in mind as you go along. Um, so each of the missions, we've made it as easy as we can for you. There's basically a checklist for points and scoring on each of the missions. So you can just use the pages of the actual tournament pack itself to be able to score your mission. So just make it really easy for you guys. And there'll be places there to write on what secondary objectives and that you're using as well. So that's it on that one. Just remember, so during deployment, just remember that the players will roll off, just dice off against each other. The loser of the roll off will basically determine which deployment zone they'll be choosing. The other deployment zone will be their opponents, and they'll be on the actual missions themselves. Players then take it in turns to deploy one model from their kill team, starting with the player who lost the roll off. Just keep that in mind. Models must be set up wholly within their own deployment zone unless they are put into reserve or have special rules or tactics in place. Good example there is, obviously when they're set up, you've got the veteran, but you can use the veteran tactic pre-game turn 1, and then they wouldn't be in your deployment zone by the end of that. But that's all cool. It's easy to remember. If a player runs out of models to set up, then just skip, and the other player just does it until they're finished. And you can put models in reserve, etc., as one of your turns there if you want. Deployment ends, battle starts. Pretty easy to remember. Remember that before an event, before a mission, players must show their opponents their Battleforge kill team. You've already given the player right at the beginning, you've given them your command roster, which just has your 20 models, and they don't know what you're going to actually take. But by the time before you've deployed, obviously, you've decided on what Battleforge list you're going to take, and that's when you show it. You both show it simultaneously, so no one can counter or change their team suddenly or anything like that. So just keep that in mind as well. So looking at prizes, we were going to use the Games Workshop medals, but in Australia at the moment, unless this changes, that division of their department that does tournaments and that has closed down for obvious reasons with the virus stuff. So we're having trouble sourcing those medals that you'd normally get, but we will be looking at prizes. I suppose will be what we mainly do, and that'll be in the form of products or gift vouchers from Irresistible Force, which will be really cool, and you'll get more than what you'd normally pay retail for, if I put it that way. So it'll be definitely worth playing for. Let's go into the actual primary objectives themselves. So with the primary objectives, most important thing that you need to realize is we are using the international format from LVO and some of those other ones of the hold kill kind of format. So it does change it from the normal Annihilation pack that Games Workshop brought out, and we're superseding that with these rules. So what you're looking at is you will gain 1 victory point per turn for holding an objective marker or more. Right, not per objective marker, just for holding 1 or more. And you'll get another victory point if you control more objectives than your opponent. Okay, So you've got a maximum there of scoring 2 victory points in those primary objectives. Like all of these, they can only have a maximum of 3 each. Just remember that, and they're 4 turn games, so just keep that in mind. The kill aspect of this is if you kill one or more enemy models in this battle round, you score 1 victory point. If you kill more enemy models than the opponent killed of your models in that battle round, then you will score an additional victory point. So there, within that kill format, you've got another 2 maximum victory points that you could score each turn, and limit 3 as per usual. So as you can see there, with those 4 primary victory conditions, you can score a maximum of 12 victory points. So that's 4 of them. You've got 4, and they can score a maximum of 3 each, which equals 12, right? So that's primary objectives. So let's have a look at the secondary objectives and how we've decided to set them up. So for this one, we've just gone with the standard 12 secondary objectives that came out with Annihilation Packet, with all that stuff that originally came out with the Games Workshop format for tournaments. So we haven't included any of the extra ones that some of the international folk are using. So we've just gone with just those primary 12 that were originally printed. So there is a little twist on how we're going to play this, though. So with the secondary objectives, you can only use them once per tournament. Now, what I mean by that is you've got 12, you've got 4 games, and basically you can only choose 3 per game. So those 3 have to be different every game. So this is going to make you think, really study the tournament pack, and see what might be the best um, missions to use certain objectives on. Now, not all the objectives line up for your faction. So if you're a very heavy shooting faction, then there's going to be some in there that aren't amazing, like ones where you've got to kill people in close combat. But alternatively, if you're a close combat faction, there's some there that you're going to struggle with, like the death from afar and stuff, where you've got to actually shoot someone at long range. So I think it will balance out, and I'm not seeing too many problems there. We have played this format before at a competition, and it was quite challenging because we had to really think about what we were going to use. Do we save our best ones for the final, like in round 4, or do we or do we just blow them all early, or do we just sort of you know meter them out over the day? So this is up to you as a player. So this just adds another layer of strategy. So just remember that you can only take each once per tournament. So um, we'll leave that with you, our fine people. And just remember there that between those 3 objectives, you can only score a maximum of 9 points in the whole game itself. So once you get to 3 points on a particular objective, you cut it off. You don't score it anymore. Just so you know. And that really leaves us to our last way to score victory points in a mission, and that is through mission-specific objectives. So we'll go to the mission section now, and we have 4 of them that we've designed for this particular tournament. Now, some of these are original, like just thought of them off our head, and other ones are amalgamations of other things that we've found, mainly from Arena and some of the match play sort of missions, and I've sort of just altered them to be a little bit more competitive, I think, with what we think might work and what we've play tested and what will work as well. So now we will be bringing out some videos where we go through and we play each of these missions so you can see how they work, to go with this sort of tournament series, I guess, that we're going to bring out. So this first one is a unique one. I haven't seen this one done before. It's sort of one we kind of developed ourselves, and it's quite savage. It's a really savage mission. Like the ones that we played with it got real bloody real quick. And it's Unsung Heroes. So mission 1 that you'll be playing first up in the morning is Unsung Heroes. So basically, reading from the text that we've done, you have a crack team of elite specialists in your kill team that can boost those around them with their precision teamwork. But can you keep them alive long enough to ensure the success of this mission? So having a look at this, your bonus mission objective is you score 1 victory point for each specialist alive at the end of the battle, up to a maximum of 3, obviously. So you've got 3 specialists. Everyone that's alive gives you an extra victory point at the end of the battle. And additionally, from the start of turn 2, so that's when you get your CP from turn 2, at the beginning of it, you receive an extra CP at the start of each turn from there, while all 3 specialists are alive. So this is incentivizing you, trying to keep these specialists alive. You'll be scoring not only scoring extra VP at the end of the battle, which could win you the game if it's very close, but you'll also um, be getting that extra CP to use from turn two if they're alive. So something a little different there. You can see on here, it's sort of like an X sort of objective mark out, and it's long edge to long edge deployment with a very tight triangular, like sort of 12-inch from the center, 6-inch from the center either side, and then 6-inch forward triangle. Um, it does make you start very close to the objectives and start very close to the opponent. So good deployment is going to be essential here. So yeah, and I think in the mission we have filmed a couple of these already, and I think it was one on the first one we did this was one on the actual specialists alive at the end of the battle is what won the person the game. So it can make a difference. So that's unsung heroes. Going on to the mission number 2, and that one's called outer flanks. So with outer flanks, the secret to any battle is to establish strong defendable positions on the enemy's flanks from which to launch counterattacks from. Do this and you may just claim victory on this mission. So this one's a little bit different, and I really like the objective and deployment layout here. It's a little bit different than what you'd probably normally played. You're kind of deploying on one half of the long edge of the board, but only 6-inch forward on either side, like alternating sides. And you've got 5 objectives that run along the other diagonal of the board. Now, what you're trying to do here is control the 2 outer objectives. So you score 1 victory point for each turn that you control the 2 outer objectives. So that's pretty big. You'll find that it's going to, one person starts slightly closer to each of the 2 outer objectives, but you're not at a disadvantage with either. So that mad rush to get there just creates a massive skirmish right at the beginning where you're just blowing the hell out of each other. So it's quite this is quite an offensive sort of mission. This one, like you really have to get in there and grab those points and missions and grab those outer objectives. And let's face it, if you're holding the 2 outer objectives, you're only going to need to control another 1 to get 3 out of the 5 to be able to score max on primaries too. So it really does pay off. And this is a really competitive mission. I played on this one on the actual movies that we'll present, and controlling those 2 outer objectives won me that game. So have a look at that one. So moving on to mission 3, we have retrieve the data or data, depending if you're American or Australian. So several terminals are located in the vicinity, but it will take time to repair and hack them to retrieve the data vital for this mission. That's the description. On this one, it's kind of like a cross deployment of objectives in the middle of the field, and opponents are deploying on the short edges of the battlefield and 4 inches from it. So it's quite tight deployment and a little bit of distance between each other. So the mission objective itself is you score 3 victory points at the end of the battle if you have held any objective for the whole game. So there is one objective on either side, which you can hold for the whole game because it's close to your deployment. This is where it comes in though. See, so like if both opponents are holding these and it's a tight game, what you can try and do is you can try and launch an offensive at the opponent's particular one that's close to them. If you can get them off that objective, then you've just deprived them of 3 victory points, and that could really turn the game around and win it for you. So this one was interesting too during the play testing, but it really forces you to be either very defensive and just try and win and block out the opponent, or be very offensive and try and push for the assault on their objective they've been holding the whole game. So yeah, another interesting one. Moving on to mission 4, which is the last one. So this is the resource haul mission, it's called. So it's been a grueling, drawn-out war for both yours and your enemy's resources are stretched to the limits. Command has sent a cracked kill team to retrieve a hidden catch. Unfortunately, the enemy has similar plans. That's the sort of rundown of what we're trying to do here, using short edge again of the battlefield for deployment, and the 3 objectives central and located across the center line vertically, which makes it pretty hard. You're going to have to try and rush in and get them. So bonus mission objective is, in addition to the 3 objectives on the board, there are 3 resource points that can be picked up by using a leader or a specialist in your kill team. Now, those resource points is something that wasn't written on the original pack, are located at the objectives themselves. So just keep that in mind. So if you get to those objectives, you'll just have a resource point under it as well. If you capture them, then put them on or with that particular leader or specialist that gets them. So if you can stay alive like your characters and hold those until the end of the battle, you'll score 1 victory point per resource token that you own. Just keep that in mind. If you die during the battle, the resource token, sorry, is just dropped and can be freely picked up by any leader or specialist of either team when it's their activation, if they're within 1 inch of it. Okay, just to make it real easy. So just keep that in mind. And that's the resource hall. That brings us to the end of the missions and just the general stuff itself. Sorry, I've been rattling on here. Kysel's more doing the technical stuff on this one. And,
Yeah.
while I'm doing, we've had some technical issues, so that's why I'm just rattling them off. You got any hot tips on what sort of factions you think might go well in this particular tournament format, Kysel?
Oh, let's see. Unsung heroes. I would say a very resilient one. Horde probably. Horde might be able to if you wanted to sacrifice some of your specialists to stay in the back and keep them alive. But yeah, anything that's really heavy duty, a lot of wounds, just stack your VPs on that.
Yeah, or even like Death Guard or something like the Plague Marines. We're discussing the resilient would be hard. Like if they
Yeah.
were all specialists, I guess something like that. Or Necrons would be another probably good one that can got resilient specialists as well. Might be a good options on
Um,
that one. I
out,
mean, looking. Yeah, sorry, you go.
I was about to say outer flanks definitely a horde on that one.
Yeah, yeah, something you can overwhelm the enemy with would be pretty handy.
Um,
Or get creative and put that, drop that Terminator in on one of the flanks. You know what I mean? Or
True.
drop that, drop something big.
Yeah.
Right on those positionals with reserves. That's not a bad way to do it too. Your opponent might be thinking the same thing though. Who knows?
Yeah, and I reckon retrieve data was probably going to be oh, that could be won by anyone. Like
Yeah,
yeah, you could either go, as you said, really defensively or really offensively, and just go straight for the back line
yeah.
point and deprive them. But then that leaves you open
Then
for
you
like
leaves you
a
vulnerable. Yeah,
from a
that's
back
yeah.
flank. Yeah, so
That's what we did. Yeah,
that'll be a fun
it,
one.
yeah, for sure.
Um, and the resource hall is actually like an interesting one because you're basically depending on the placement of terrain and that, you will have to actually put your more important characters out in the open and vulnerable for at least a turn to get to them.
Yeah, you can sort of see the theme with these missions that we've designed here is that specialists are playing quite a large role in it, and I think if you think about Kill Team, and this is how I see Kill Team, it is that crack elite squad that's been sent out to do something. So these are sort of like the main guys within your Kill Team, and that's why we're trying to use them within these missions. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple very centered around specialists. So, and as they would be in a very small crack elite sort of Kill Team, is that these would be the guys making the decisions and doing the main things, right? That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, I think that was our sort of inspiration for this particular package. Anyway,
yeah. And so some of the missions also force you to go out of your comfort zone. You may be just too used to like having your sniper up the back doing whatever, but
yeah,
then when you need as many VPs as possible, or not VPs, specialists as possible in the front line, then you've got to really think about it.
yeah. This
Other
is
than
yeah,
you actually do keep a sniper in the back because you know that you can reach that front point and keep them
yeah.
off that
Just
front point.
keep nuking their specialists is another option too. So
Yeah,
if you're playing something like Tower, you're gonna have to really consider that because most of your specialists in the Tower force are sniper and demo specialists with railguns who sit at the back. So in your roster, you might need to get creative and have some like maybe some stealth suits that could go grab these objectives that are specialists, and you alternate them with your rail rifles in different lists. As just as an example, if you're going to play something like that.
wait.
So
Did you just say to actually take stealth suits to a tournament?
yes, yeah, you should. I did. I have before, but I never use them. Yeah, but they are actually quite good. And with 125 points, just remember you can get that stealth suit in there as well now with a little bit of change. So um, yeah, give it a go.
Yep.
And I think yeah, look, this is what we're running. We really appreciate you guys who've taken the time to watch this. You know, like even if you're not coming to this tournament, you're overseas or something, you might be just interested in how tournaments work. Hopefully, this can give you some ideas of you know how we've set up ours anyway. And it's been an amalgamation of just our own ideas, but then also taking some of the best stuff from some of the international things and the original Annihilation pack from Games Workshop as well. So we sort of just amalgamated what we thought would be fun, and then designed it around there. So yeah, as per usual, please consider subscribing to our channel. We're going to bring out some more content with these particular missions, and that'll be coming up soon. And I'll also do a video for guys on roster building, just in case you're still a little
Mm.
bit uncertain. And I'll do a very specific video on roster building on how you could go about that. But for now, we're Lucious and Kysol. This is War HQ, and we're signing out.
Cool. Thanks.